Good morning and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms related, politics, culture, community, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. Also, please take a moment to like and share this video feed, as well as take a chance to visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. If you go there, you'll find all sorts of cool t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, all different ways that you can express your support for the Second Amendment, actually support the Second Amendment, and look good doing it. Where will you find that? That's fpcgear.com. Once again, know that every penny that you spend there will go right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. Well, guess what season it is, folks? It is political season. This is more than political season. It is campaign season, which basically means, well, that there's going to be a whole lot that's going to be going on. An opportunity to vote in order to help elect candidates to office or politicians to office who believe in our right to keep and bear arms. Or for some of you, like myself, who happen to kind of live behind enemy lines, well, we kind of have to deal with something a little bit different. We have to deal with politicians who clearly don't care about our right to keep and bear arms. But with all of that, we all know that with all of that, there's been a lot of resistance on both sides. We've had people who've resisted Donald Trump, and we've had people who've resisted the fascist anti-Second Amendment, anti-liberty folks who are doing everything they can to try and take our right to keep and bear arms in a proposed or superficial feeling of safety. Well, in their efforts, they've come up with a new plan. And as a part of this new plan, there's a group that has come out that's pushing for, how shall we say, well, as Breitbart put it, they're encouraging people to swat individuals who are legally carrying firearms when they go to vote. Now, some states, including California, Georgia, Arizona, and a few others, actually have certain legal requirements or restrictions when it comes to carrying a firearm to a polling place. Some out and outright ban it. Some have various different restrictions. Take a moment. You should know the gun laws in your state. If you are a concealed carry permit holder, if you conceal carry or open carry, you need to know the laws in your state. But there's actually a group, and this group is called Guns Down America. And what they're asking citizens to do is to actually text a number. And what will happen is that if you go to the polling place and you see someone and they have a firearm, whether they can legally have it there or not, they're encouraging you to text this number, and then they will then contact appropriate election officials and or authorities. In other words, they're going to swat you. And their rationale behind this is they want to make the polling place a safe space, because of all the heated rhetoric, as if the reason why the rhetoric is heated isn't because of them. In fact, the head of the organization, where's his name at real quick? His name is Igor Valsky. He basically said this in a quote. Given the troubling rhetoric we've seen over the last 2 years, and that guns are far too easy to obtain, this campaign will help the majority of Americans who believe that fewer guns keep us safer fight back and cast their ballots from fear of intimidation. That's right, fear of intimidation. So in other words, what they're saying is that those of us who believe in the right to keep and bear arms, those of us who believe in, we have a responsibility not just a right, but a responsibility to defend ourselves and to defend our community. They believe that we're the ones that are instituting fear. Yet these are the very same individuals who are saying, yeah, we're going to call the authorities on people who are legally carrying a firearm, in public. And that's in essence what this is. Folks, if you in your state, if it is legal for you to carry when you vote, there's no reason why you should not. And there's no reason why you should feel fear or be intimidated. There's no reason why someone should be able to intimidate you for doing what you can lawfully do. Now, if you cannot lawfully do that and you decide to do it anyway, well then, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. That's your choice. But you need to know whether or not it's legal or not. But even with that, it's like, okay, so a person is exercising their constitutional right, and you think that they're there to intimidate you, and yet your response is that you seek to intimidate them from showing up to vote. You seek to intimidate pro-gun voters from showing up to vote based on what? I mean, really, honestly, based on what? Where have there been shootings at polling places at all, let alone by individuals with concealed carry permits, by individuals who are legally carrying or possessing firearms? Huh? I can tell you, I did a little bit of research, and I only came up with two. There are only in two instances where there have been shootings at or near polling places, at least in recent history. Now, once again, this is not a scientific study. This was literally me spending some time on Google doing research. Now, I could be wrong. If there are more, feel free to include them in the comment section. But here are the two that I came up with. There was one that took place in Azusa, California, and this was 2016. Now, this wasn't at a polling place. This was an individual. This was tied to drugs, but this was an individual who basically just started shooting. And one of the people who wound up getting shot happened to be on their way to vote. The other two people who were shot, they were not on their way to vote. But it was not necessarily at a polling place, and it wasn't tied to the polling place. It was just some guy just went off while on drugs, and that's pretty much what it was. So that was one incident. The other was in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, once again, this was near a polling place, and it wasn't a shooting at a polling place, but this was an individual who wound up committing suicide in their car. This was actually just a few months ago. So, but these are the only two that as I did a search, I was able to find that were at or near a polling place on Election Day. There may be more, but what I would like to know is, are any of these, I don't know that any of these are tied to, once again, an individual legally possessing or owning a firearm and taking it to the polling place. I just don't know that exists. But yet and still, because of their perceived desire, or their desire to create a perception of safety, because they want to feel safe, they want to actually make the rest of us not safe at all. They want to remove the ability for the rest of us to be safe, which is also kind of odd because, as I've noted, it seems like the people who are most likely of conducting such shootings, or at least are guilty of violence against their political opponents here in these United States, all tend to come from the left. Whether it's the shooting during the congressional softball practice, or Antifa, or the violence at Trump rallies. None of the violence at Trump rallies was started by Trump supporters. Almost all of it was conducted and started by anti-Trump supporters, or as we know, the anti-gun Antifa left. I'm just saying, those are the facts. Let me clarify. That's how I see it. That's what I see. And I don't see that anybody in the mainstream media is able to offer anything other than, well, but I don't like the rhetoric of the other side, of the conservatives, or Trump supporters, or wherever you might fall. But it's our rhetoric incites their violence, and so they say that we're the ones that have the potential to be violent, but it always seems to be, we say something, or they say something, we respond, and then they get violent, and then somehow they want to disarm us. Seems kind of odd. But then again, that is who they are. So, folks, please remember to get out and vote. Please remember to exercise your right to vote. And if you are able to do so, if you are legally able to do so, At the same time, make sure to exercise your right to keep and bear arms while you exercise your right to vote. Because these are, after all, ladies and gentlemen, civil rights. As I have said many, 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 many times, you've got to use them or you will lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.